I'm going to show you how to make an iTunes link for your podcast. Hi, I'm Daniel J. Lewis from the AUDACITY to Podcast.com. It's really important for you to have your podcast in iTunes, and it's also really important for you to be able to link to your podcast in iTunes instead of telling people, go find me in iTunes. Worst advice ever. Never, ever, ever tell your audience to go find you. That's like telling people, yeah, go find me in the phone book instead of just giving them your phone number. So please do not tell people to find you in iTunes. Instead, use the methods I'm about to show you to make an easy iTunes link for your podcast, whether it be video or audio podcast, and there's even the potential that you could earn some money from this as well. Here's an example of what we're about to do. If you go to theaudacitytopodcast.com, you'll see that I have this nice big subscribe in iTunes button. If you click on this, it will launch a new tab and show my podcast listing on that new tab, but also immediately launch iTunes directly to my podcast. So you can click subscribe, you can leave ratings and reviews here, you can see the previous episodes that are available in my audio edition or my video edition, which is a separate link. So I'll show you how you can do this on your own and even have the potential for making some money with this. So the first thing that we need to do is we need to get the iTunes link for your podcast. The way that we do that is search for your podcast in iTunes. So I'll type in the Audacity to Podcast into iTunes. Now I have two listings in iTunes, my audio edition and my video edition. We're going to make this particular link for the video edition. So when you find your podcast inside of iTunes, and you might have to scroll down a little bit in order to find the podcast sections, you can just right-click on the cover art and choose Copy Link. Then switch over to our browser, and you'll see that what this link looks like is this https itunes.apple.com, and then a bunch of other information that distinguishes this podcast from a different podcast. So this is our iTunes URL. But if we use this URL just by itself, what will happen, as you see, is it just opens the podcast inside of the browser. It doesn't launch iTunes. I would have to come here and click View in iTunes in order for it to show up in iTunes for people to subscribe and leave ratings and reviews there. That's too many steps. We can cut this step out by making this nice link. There are two ways to do this. The first way is, notice our link starts with HTTPS. Now you may have a link that starts with HTTP, but in either case, we replace this HTTP or HTTPS with ITMS. Now, what will happen here when we open this link is it won't even open a new tab. I'll show you an example of this by closing that tab. So right now, we're back at theaudacitytopodcast.com. If I paste this new ITMS link into my browser and press enter, it didn't open a new tab or a new page or anything. It just immediately launched into iTunes. This isn't the most compatible way because if someone doesn't have iTunes on their computer, it won't recognize how to open these kinds of links. And some people may have to allow iTunes to open these links depending on what browser they're using and if they've ever clicked a link like this before. But this is an easy, super easy way to do this, that you just copy that link, change the HTTPS to ITMS, which stands for iTunes Music Store, and then you have an easy link that will open directly into iTunes. But there's a second way to do this that I think is much better and has the potential for you to earn some money. And that is with the LinkShare affiliate program, signing up for the iTunes affiliate program. So first go to theaudacitytopodcast.com/LinkShare. Sign up for their affiliate program over here at Rakuten or LinkShare. And once you're in, then search for the US iTunes affiliate program by typing in US iTunes and apply to this program. It may take some time to be approved, and you may have to send an email to their affiliate manager requesting an approval because you want to use the links for your podcast. But once you're approved, then you get this nice link maker tool link. This will take you to a new page where you can easily make affiliate links. Type in the name of the podcast you want to search for, the Audacity to Podcast. We'll change the media type to podcasts and click search. It does a quick search, shows me my links here, and I want the podcast link for the video edition. So click on podcast link, and it now gives us several options here. We could just right click on this direct link and copy this, and that's what we'll ultimately use. But we could also use this HTML pre-formatted text or make a large or a small button, but we're just going to work with this direct link URL. So when we open this URL, I'll paste it into a new tab so you can see what happens. It loads the page in the browser and then it launches iTunes. So if I go back to the browser, you see this opening the iTunes store, and it did this automatically for me or any other visitors. Again, they may need to authorize iTunes to handle these kind of links, but they would only have to do that once. So they might have already done that once before for someone else's podcast, or they may be doing it the first time for you. But just so you know, they may have to allow iTunes to handle those kinds of links. But this is a great link to use because it opens that web page just in case someone doesn't have iTunes installed. And this gives you the opportunity to make money from your podcast. No, it won't be money directly from your podcast, but the way this works is you will get 5% of anything anyone purchases within 72 hours of clicking your link. And this can even apply in many cases to things that they buy through the App Store, either the Mac App Store or the iOS App Store, and you can get affiliate income from this if they've clicked on your link first. I get maybe a couple dollars or a few dollars per month from this, but still, that's a couple or a few dollars that I wouldn't have had before. And you can use this same kind of iTunes link maker tool. Bookmark this because you can use it for other people's podcasts. You can use this for iOS products or apps or games or Mac apps or anything like that that is in the iTunes App Store or Mac App Store. You can make nice affiliate links with this. So you'll want to bookmark your iTunes link maker. But this link is long. We don't want to use this link because it's too long. You're never going to remember this. Never, ever speak this into your podcast. So we want to create a friendly URL for this link. The way that we'll do this is go to your WordPress website. We need to install a plugin that will allow us to create easy, friendly URLs for people. If you don't already have this plugin, it's called Pretty Link, and the light version, which is free, works fine for this. If you don't have it installed yet, go to your WordPress admin interface, go to Plugins, and then Add New. Then search for Pretty Link Lite, Lite, and install Pretty Link Lite onto your site. Once it's installed on your site, we want to then activate this plugin. Once activated, you'll see a new Pretty Link option here on the left side of your WordPress admin. Go to that and choose Add New Link. Then in here, change the redirection type to 301 permanent. Paste in that really long iTunes URL here. And let's make a friendly Pretty Link, just simply iTunes. So for you, this might be myawesomepodcast.com/iTunes. It's short, it's simple, and it's very easy to use. You can change any of these other options if they really matter to you, like this no follow link option, or you can put this in a particular group if you want. But the only other option I recommend in particular is this track hits on this link option. That way you can see how many people are using this particular link that you create. Then click the create button. And we now have our iTunes link. Now, do keep in mind, you see my warning message here because I don't have my permalinks set very well inside of WordPress. So I'm just changing it to post name, save changes, and then that'll work just fantastic for me. So now we have our link that will take us to iTunes. So if I use this link /iTunes, it takes me to iTunes. on a page of my web browser and launches the Audacity to Podcast or your podcast in the iTunes store directly through the app. This also works on the mobile devices and as well as computers. Now that we have a great link that takes people directly to your podcast on iTunes, let's put that somewhere on your website. And this is really easy to do. You can put this just in a regular page or post on your site by typing in the hyperlink or typing in your text. So we could say subscribe in iTunes and just select our text, click the add or edit link, and we'll paste in our address here to our iTunes link. And your address would, of course, be differently depending on what you entered and your domain. So when I add that, now that's created my link that takes people directly to my podcast in iTunes. But you can do this in such a prettier way, like making these fantastic looking buttons and icons on your site. The way to do that is to get my social subscribe and follow icons plugin for WordPress. This is a premium plugin, but I think you'll really like it. Check it out at subscribeandfollow.com and purchase the plugin through that site. Once you have the plugin zip file, then go to your WordPress admin interface and go to Plugins, Add New, and instead of searching for the plugin, we need to upload it because you've downloaded a zip file to upload. You can do one of two things. You can click Choose File and find the plugin zip file, or if you are using Google Chrome, you can actually just drag the zip file onto the Choose File button and then click Install Now. Whatever the case is, continue on with that and then click Activate Plugin. Now that the plugin is activated, go to Settings and Subscribe and Follow. And in here, we will enter the web address of our iTunes link. This might be something like myawesomepodcast.com/iTunes or whatever friendly link that you've created with Pretty Link Lite. You can enter this here inside of Social Subscribe and Follow links. Then just either press Enter or click on the Save Changes button. And now we have our link button. We can also go into display options and change any of the colors that we want or size or fonts or anything else. And there will be future options and updates to this plugin when you purchase it from subscribeandfollow.com. But now we need to put this on our website because our website right now is looking pretty bland without the plugin. We want a nice subscribe button right here. So let's come over here to our appearance section, go to widgets, and drag the social subscribe and follow icons widget over there. We'll tell it we want to feature the iTunes network since we want it to be a nice big button instead of just a little icon. And we'll say here, we'll just say subscribe like that. And it will appear with the iTunes button. So just click Save. Now when we look at our website and refresh it, we get this really nice subscribe button and it has the iTunes logo there. But we can also put it inside of a page or a post. So we'll edit this sample post here on our site and say, use the short code, which would be just SAF for subscribe and follow. And then we tell it feature equals quotation mark iTunes, close quotation mark, and square brackets. So now when we save that, you can see that we've inserted that nice button inside of our post. But if we want to change the text for the post, just like we did for the widget, we change our call to action text. The way that you do that inside of the shortcode is add to this CTA equals whatever you want to say. So we can say subscribe in iTunes. And then preview these changes. And you can see we've now created a button that looks great on the site, will look fantastic on high resolution devices like the iPad or iPhone or Android tablets that have really high density of pixels. And this will look wonderful on your site. You can customize the colors, customize the text, choose different icons, or use different networks. That's at subscribeandfollow.com. Now you can make links that will take people directly to your podcast in iTunes without your having to tell them to find you in iTunes. Please don't do that. You can use these links in email, on Twitter, on Facebook. You can speak them into your podcast as well, and they will work fantastically for you. Please check out the show notes for this episode at theaudacitytopodcast.com/iTunes links for more information and to rewatch this video or get all of these links that I've mentioned. And also let me know if you'd like some one-on-one consulting to help you podcast with success by going to theaudacitytopodcast.com/consulting. You can get my previous audio and video episodes about how to podcast and use Audacity by going to theaudacitytopodcast.com, and there are subscription links there to iTunes and YouTube and everywhere else. And please follow me on Twitter at @TheRamenNoodle. If there's something you'd like me to cover in a future episode of the Audacity to Podcast, then please email feedback@theaudacitytopodcast.com or call 903-231-2221. You can also leave a comment below this video or at theaudacitytopodcast.com/iTunes links to let me know how this information helped you. Now that I've given you some of the guts and taught you some of the tools, it's time for you to go podcast with passion, organization, and dialogue. I'm Daniel J. Lewis. Thank you for watching.